this is a place where great devotion is piling up. And I feel like just standing here makes me feel like I'm unworthy. And a week ago, I received a message from President Lee Gi-sung to give this report on this day, and I have been thinking about how I should prepare my lecture. And for this moment, I was able to reflect on all the lectures I've done in terms of True Parents Life course. And it was a moment where I could embrace True Mother throughout the week, within my heart, and focus only on True Mother. And I hope I can express all the heart that I've been prepared at this moment. And I would like to share all the lectures I've done throughout until now. I am the firstborn of Kimugi and Kimoki blessed family, the 18th blessed couple. I wanted to introduce myself like this, and I also wanted to call out to my father because he's sick at the moment. But anyways, and I've been working for my public life for 17 years, and my motto is one person. At least one person. If I could bring at least one person to come closer to Heavenly Parent, True Parents, that's good enough. And that's always my heart when I give lecture. And it is a report, but in my heart, it's like testimony that I'll be sharing. And I truly hope that if someone, at least one person, goes closer to Heavenly Parent, True Parents, I think that's good enough for my report. President Lee Gi-sung, the reason why he gave me this report is that since October of 2023, I've been giving lecture since then, the True Parents Life course, and even today, I gave lecture 5 hours and came up here. And these workshop trainees, Cheonju Chombo workshop trainees, they gave me very good scores. So I always receive, average, I received 5 out of 4.7 out of 5. And I feel like because they're living in this desperate, putting devotion here, I think that's why they are listening to my lecture very intently and very well. Anyways, as I was giving this lecture, there are a lot of stories that I felt I received that I never received before. Whenever I give lecture here, I shout out so loudly because I could feel something rising up with my heart that I had to shout. And because of my brothers and sisters who are listening, when I think about that, I should be, talking very lightly, very casually, but I always start shouting whenever I start the lecture. And when True Father was in Bomnaekgor in Busan, whenever he would give his lecture, he would often shout out his sermon, and people living around him would thought that at church they're fighting. Anyways, that's the story I heard, and I feel like okay. So when True Father was speaking, ancestors are listening too, so that's why she had to shout. So same way, I felt like ancestors are here as well, so I shout out my lecture. And one day, there was a moment where I couldn't think of anything. I thought I was silent when I was giving lecture. I didn't know what I had to say. But at that moment, when I was in silence, I was crying. So of course, lecture, I may give stories in words, but the reason why I keep silent is because I start crying. So there are moments when I know there are moments when I cry, so I try to speak faster before I cry. And also, I shed in tears a lot throughout my life. It's not that just myself crying, but rather my brothers and sisters who are listening to this lecture cry because they resembled their heart at the moment when True Parents went through the hardship. So as I look at them, it's really hard for me to keep going because just by looking at my brothers and sisters crying, that touches my heart, that moves my heart, and I also want to cry. So I truly saw a lot of brothers and sisters at the workshop like this. So I report about this to President Lee Gi-sung every time after I give a lecture, and this is the vision he gave me, which is I truly hope that you become the reviver who gives lecture even though you want to cry. So, of course, you want to cry, but if you cry, you cannot give lecture. So keep that cry within your heart, keep that to your heart, and give the lecture and become the reviver. So this is a vision that President Igisan gave me, and I truly want to keep up to those words and become very great reviver. I truly want to thank President Igisan for giving me this vision. So when I give lecture, about 40% are older than me. And you see a lot of future generations around here, right? So around 60% are the youth and future generation. And a lot of elder brothers and sisters gives me testimonies. And that is, when I give lecture, they told me that, up there, True Father was sitting on his seat and listening to your lecture and smiling. And another person came to me. True Father up there is kept on pushing me to come up to this young lecturer and share my stories. It's like these, they would just come up and give me testimony. Let me share one of the story later. Recently, Amir Sub, district leader, recently passed away, went to ascended to spiritual, and his wife came to me, and she came to me and she told me, "Oh, you're so good at lecture." And she blessed me she blessed me with words that she wanted me to become the great lecturer in the future. And as I was giving lecture, another elder brother came up to me and said, well, we had the 1.2 million people came. We had an event where we had to gather 1.2 people, and I had to gather a lot of people to fit entire bus to go, and it was very truly hard time for me. Anyways, I've been working on all True Parents Life Course based on what our older brothers and sisters have made stories of. And before I start giving my lecture here at the training center, I realized that I was giving only the knowledge of True Parents. But I truly wanted to testify by my faith. So from now on, because my elder brother and sister are also listening who live with True Parents, I realized that instead of looking at True Parents as a knowledge that I need to send out, but rather it became a time for me to testify my own faith centering on True Parents. So because of this realization, my lecture always improved as time went on. So there are 17 chapters in my lecture. And so we have the introduction about True Parents' realization of himself as Messiah, and True Mother's story of realizing herself as the Messiah. And we also have lecture on True Parents' earlyhood for preparation for this providence, and also True Mother's preparation for the providence. And these are all aligned with True Mother's words. And also we went through all the 7-year courses that True Parents went. And after the 13th chapter, which is about True Mother's providence since the Providence Foundation Day, we go more into specific details of the events that we need to look at closer. So, as a historian, I usually share these stories. So, and these lectures are not solely made by myself. These are all made by all the other brothers and sisters who went before me, who prepared this, such as Professor Oh Tae-kyung and Yong Jin-young brother. And our True Parent Institute of History also gave me a lot of data that I can use to create this courses. So this isn't just my work, but it's all of my brothers and sisters who prepare all the contents for me. And so I want to take this opportunity to thank all the brothers and sisters who helped me. So as a CARP YSP president and as a vice president of the Family Federation, I always thought about how about the contents that people can use as a witnessing activity, especially parents gave us this 효정놀이, which is for like kindergarten level students up to earlyhood of elementary students, and she gave me those words to educate them. And as I was going through preparing this, we have to learn about divine principle, but before that step, we have to learn about Bibles. And I've been trying to teach the Bible, but centering on true parents' words, we start with true parents' life course so that they can truly understand about true parents and they can put true parents in their heart. And that's how we set the curriculum. Our curriculum for our 교동, for the very young little children, like kindergarten age, first, second, and third graders of elementary school. So it's not just about the lectures, but we develop a lot of programs for our future generations to experience true parents. And so since 2017, I created this True Parents Life Course lecture, and including today, today's lecture. I've given 107 lectures, and total 20,000 people and brothers and sisters joined my lecture, and overall rating has been 4.5 out of 5. Amongst 20,000 brothers and sisters, and I am trying better, and I'm trying to improve my lecture more and more so that people can see better. And True Mother once called me and she said, "Kim Dong-yeon, you are good at giving lectures on True Parents Life Course, right?" And I said, no, I'm still inadequate. So sharing these kind of stories can move true parents, move our brothers and sisters' heart just by listening to True Mother's experience of True Mothers. And also, anyways, so I often tell True Mother that it's not me giving lecture that moved brother sister heart, but rather it was stories with you that allowed me to give that made this rating very high. Anyways, that's what I would often tell True Mother whenever she asks me. Anyway, and I also received 5,000 comments and feedbacks in terms of for my lecture, and I try to read it every one of them so that I can improve my lecture. Usually, when I started, because I was YSP CARP leader, I only focused on future generations. But since early 2022, I go to actual churches around Korea to offer my lecture. So from this small A-shaped church, even this, as you can see on the right bottom picture, like elder sister would come up to me and take photo with me. Anyways, I was able to realize a lot of things as I went around the church. As I studied True Parents Life Course, my perspective on my older brothers and sisters have changed. The life itself, as I see elder brothers and sisters, I realize that their life itself is showing the devotion they put for Heavenly Parents and parents. So, and on the right top picture, you see elder brother, sister sitting down, elder couple sitting down there. I usually go to church about an hour earlier to set up all the systems and whatnot. And this couple actually came an hour earlier, around the same time I arrived, and stayed there and waited until the lecture started. And I truly was moved by this couple. Anyways, when I started giving the lecture, at first I only saw true parents. True parents did this, true parents did that, and I was, only looking at true parents. And at one moment, I was able to feel true parents' heart, and that expanded for me to see not just true parents, but to see our older brothers and sisters who were with true parents to move and set the foundation for our movement. And I realized these stories, at first, when I studied True Parents, it was always based on True Parents' words and studied True Parents' life course. But I went beyond that and started listening to stories of our elder members who gave me a lot of testimony regarding their life with True Parents. And that truly gave me a lot of realizations, a lot of different stories, different perspective on this. So right nowadays, I study a lot on my elder members' testimonies so that I can give better lecture and better understand about True Parents. And because of this, I was able to see our elder members. For instance, True Parents gather, like I said, 1.2 million people at one spot, and all our brothers and sisters back then had to gather their own, all those people to be at the event, right? Anyways, those stories, I usually look at all the events as a numbers, but I realize that there are deeper stories where people, our brothers and sisters, had to endure so much. Even a mother had to leave their baby and could not give breast, could not feed their baby at right time because she had to go out and make things work. So there are a lot of stories like, people had only ate 1 meal a day with just the rice. People would, knock off because they were giving lecture. Some people have to hide themselves that they are the Unification Church and witness. Anyways, when I looked at True Father, at first, when he went to the United States, people saw True Father as just an Asian dude coming to America, this weird dude coming to America saying that he's spreading his words. And I only read those words as a knowledge, received those words as knowledge, but as I looked at my parents, I realized how desperate, how heartbreaking for True Father would have been when he heard all those messages. When I listen to my parents' voice sound, when I look at my parents, my own physical parent, they went around places after places to gather people, and just by looking at their stories, they had to meet a lot of people. But if we imagine True Father, in order to bring all those people, in Yankee Stadium, in Monument, the event that held at the Washington Monument, True Father had to meet more people than to make this happen, right? So oftentimes we call this miracle. We call all the accomplishments that we made, True Parents made, as miracle. But I don't want to call it miracle because it all happened because of our elder members' determination, resolution to move forward, take actual action to bring such victory. So I want to take this opportunity to send out my appreciation to all my elder brothers and sisters who set this foundation for us. Anyways, I gave 107 times of lectures on True Parent Life course. So each chapter is about an hour. It's only 17 hours, but as I give lecture, I don't just repeat my lecture, but I try to improve. So I look at my lecture more and more. And as I look at it, I see a lot of things missing. And there are a lot of things that are missing in terms of explaining Heavenly Parent, True Parent's heart, as well as my brothers and sisters' heart that are embedded in those stories. So for me, I feel like every lecture was different. In one lecture, my brothers and sisters cry at one moment, and in another lecture, they cry at different moment.
그래서 조심스럽게 고백을
Anyways.
했었는데요. 스며든다는 생각을 했습니다. 어찌 참부모님의 그 심정을
Every time I give I gave 107 lecture, and every time I give lecture, I always cried, and I was thinking to myself, why do I cry? It's repeat in a way you can think of it as a repeating lectures, the same course, but I realized that it's not. I realized that head true parents' heart is slowly taking place of my heart. That made me realization that I had to cry because I understand true parents' life more, meaning I understand true parents' heart more, and that eventually led me to realize and resonate with true parents' heart. That gave me this moving heart to cry, and because of such resonance, true parents are always giving me new realization, new teachings every time I lecture. So there are a lot of true mother's words that true mother gave us in order to guide us. In no way shocking. This is one of the shocking, which is this. God had to wait until the only begotten daughter makes decision on her own. And also, in June 3rd, 2022, including myself, there were 5 future generation leaders. She gave us about 40 minutes of her words, and she was crying, and she was giving her words. And at that time, she told us that the holy wedding that went through with True Father was my decision. Our age difference of 23 years old. And as a girl, I was 17 years old. As a girl, I had a lot of dreams. But so going through the holy wedding was not easy decision for me. And with those words, True Mother started to cry as she was telling her story of the moment when she went to receive holy wedding, how hard it was for her to accept such faith and make this decision. And she told us that I had to grow myself and complete myself. And she also told us that in order to protect and complete true parents, I had to give birth to 14 children, risking my life. And in February 14, 2024, as she also complimented on my lecture, she gave me these words: I already knew my identity and my mission all by myself. And I've endured and waited. I lived a life of patience and endurance greater than Heavenly Parent. And recently, True Mother proclaimed this new truth through Theory of True Parents and the epic history of Han people of Korea. And in one of the today, as we met True Mother, in one of the meetings that we gathered, True Mother suddenly, pointed at me and then told me, Kim Dong-yeon, do you want to create this epic history? And I told her, I'll try. And she smiled and just went away. And 3 days later, we reported on this epic history. I gave her a general outline, first draft for 3 nights. Anyways, after receiving that message from True Mother for 3 nights, I prepared this first draft of it, and I offered it to True Mother, and she told me that yes, just move forward with what you planned. And the contents is the contents of epic history truly reveal the heart of True Mother as well as the course of Heavenly Parent, how Heavenly Parent prepared for True Mother with what kind of heart Heavenly Parent had. Anyways, last year, I was able to offer 100th lecture on True Parents Life Course, and I was given opportunity through Director Song Yong-chun to report it to True Mother that I passed 100 True Parents Life Course, and True Mother called me, and I actually had a conversation one-on-one with True Mother. At that time, as she was closing up, and with last words, she told me this: 동현아,
내가 참 장하다.
if I think of myself,
나도 인간인데.
I'm truly proud of myself.
그렇지?
I am
눈물 글썽이면서 이렇게 얘기를
Also a
하시는
human. Am I right?
중간에 어머님과 말씀을
And
들으면서
that
눈물을
truly shed me in
꼭
tears.
참고
And that every
어머님
time,
말씀을 들었는데
every word as I listen to
저
True
말씀을
Mother,
듣는 순간
I try to keep myself,
어머님 앞에서 그냥 통곡을
keep-
해버렸습니다.
try to hold myself so I don't cry. But with those words, as soon as I heard those words, I cried and cried. And True Mother, as she had to leave, but as she saw me crying, she just stood there and watched me and waited for me.
어머님의 삶의
With the she told me at last, eat something well and take care. And she left. As I studied True Parent Life course, I realized that true parents are not God, are not mystical figures, but they are same human beings as we are. They receive pain. They have heartaches.
그 심정을 가지고 생애노정을 강의하고 있었는데 어머님이 저렇게 저 말씀을 주시는 겁니다. 얼마나 많이
I always had this heart that true parents has always been a human being, and they accomplish these miracles in front of these great accomplishments. But the last word that she gave me truly moved, touched my heart, bottom of my heart, that I cried and cried after listening to these. Let me just share a glimpse of my lecture. Based on as I studied True Mother's words and organized the course of True Mother's life course, when she realized that she had to step up, and she had this big event where there was a turning point for her, and which was a revelation that she received, that she had to become heaven's bride. And in that, there was a very deep heartache that she had in order to decide. So there was a process of how she went to go through. So first turning point for True Mother was meeting True Father for the first time, and on that moment, True Father said, "Hanakja, you have to sacrifice." And since then, she met True Father for the first time in 1956, and for 3 years, she had been thinking about what it means to sacrifice. She was thinking more deeply about what can I do to sacrifice myself for God. And this question changed her life entirely.
식구님들 여기 첨보관에 가면요 어머님의
And
생활기록부가 전시되어 있습니다. 거기에 이 결단을
when you go to 첨보관, you can actually see the record of True Mother.
명랑성을 잃어버리고
And
우울해하고 있었다라는 선생님의 생활기록부에 기록이 있습니다.
there's a True Father's
안타가 아니라 명랑성을 잃어버렸다고 돼 있습니다.
Anyways, there's a record where it said at one moment, she was always bright, but one moment she lost. So in a school transcript, teachers write about True Mother. So around 15 or 16, teachers saw True Mother very brightly. She was a very bright kid, but as soon as she resolved and made decision for her own and had that contemplation of herself about sacrifice, she lost such joy, such happiness, such brightness. Anyways, through True Father, heaven gave the revelation that the day has come, so prepare. And as True Mother mentioned in February 14, 2024, she already knew her own identity and her own mission. Until now, we understood the fact that True Father was picked, selected by True Father, but now True Mother is revealing the truth. No, she knew her mission. But imagine, at 60 years old, knowing the path to take on as a mother of the universe, and knowing the fact that she had to marry 23-year-old older husband, how can she go through such hardship to make such decision? She could have denied the calling that she had. But because she knew the sorrowness of heaven, she had to make decision, and that's what made her lead. Eventually, led her to decide to step up to receive holy blessing.
쉬는 시간에 갑자기 오시는 겁니다. 저에게 무슨 얘기를 해주셨냐면 그런 얘기를 들으니까 김수관이라고 하는 초창기 때 아버님을 모시고.
Anyways, one of the elder brother came up to me after the lecture, and she told me that there's a lady named Kim Soo-gun that true father, after the engagement ceremony, true mother went away. True father suddenly sat down and started crying on the desk. He was crying very sadly, and this lady, she couldn't ask her at the time, and she asked later that why did you cry? And he told me that I cried because that girl, true mother, the girl, she's so young and she took this mission.
불쌍하고 걱정되고 해서 내가 그렇게 울 수밖에 없었다. 만약에 저 소녀조차도 포기한다면
I felt pitiful for her. I felt very sad to see her, that because she had to take up that role on that age and to walk this hard path, very painful path that is in the future. That's why her father cries so much after the engagement. You know, when we studied divine principle and true father's words, we always knew that true father selected true mother, but the idea of the word contact means selected. So anyways, in true mother's heart, it was her decision that made holy wedding possible. Anyways, I was curious about how true mother decided to receive holy wedding. She read a lot of the Bible a lot of times, and she couldn't stop crying when she thought about God. And she realized, as she experienced God's heart, if I don't resolve, if I don't step up, I cannot fulfill Heavenly Parents' dream, and I cannot fulfill true Father's dream. So that's why, even though I was young, I resolved. I realized these words, and also, as I was reading true Father's word, I found this word. True mother has greater hardships that are waiting to liberate and go the indemnity, waiting. True mother has greater indemnity ahead to resolve than myself. Those were the true father's words. Anyways, as I was studying true mother's words, this was true mother's words during the engagement ceremony. How can I describe your heart, God's heart? Although I may be inadequate, throughout 6,000 years of the providence, although I'm still inadequate, you sent your daughter. And in order to accomplish your will, Heavenly Father, I am very grateful for your calling. Although I may be inadequate, until the will is accomplished, I'll move forward to make complete oneness with you. If you just read these words, it's only 10 seconds. But true mother, in order to speak this, she tried her best to hold her back tears. It took longer time to say these words. So through these words, we can realize that true mother was not selected, but rather she decided. She made her own firm resolution to step up to become. But she kept her saying to herself that she was inadequate.
그 무거운 섭리적 사명을 또 감내하시려고 애쓰시는 그런 또 어머님의
And at such a young age, she was trying to hold all the responsibility that she already knew that she had to take on. Anyways, through the new teaching that she's giving us, as I understand True Mother's heart more, I look at True Father from different view, and I was able to realign True Father story. True Father also had a turning point. We only focus on the moment when True Father met Jesus, but she also had a turning point, and that is when he attended Osan Middle and High School. She opened a new path for himself as he studied. And all the things that she learned from Osan School, they made him turning point. And at that time, 5 of his siblings passed away. Even his cousins and his the animals that he was raising passed away, and one of his elder sister, went crazy, went mad, and he was offering prayer at the middle mountain with tears and received. Anyways, I found these words. At the time when everything was scattered and broken, as a boy, I had to take the responsibility to make everything right. I have to go beyond country, beyond nation, beyond world. Imagine about this responsibility, the time when I took this responsibility, how serious it would have been. Because of this, as I met Jesus, as I received the mission, as I resolved to step up, I realized this is my mission to live my entire life. So, this is truly a great moment. True Father also needed his own resolution. When he received mission from Jesus, his first words were, "I cannot do it." Imagine for yourself when you receive that great mission of Jesus. True Father denied mission, but Jesus kept on persuading True Father. God is in pain because of the painful human who are receiving pain. Please take on this special mission. So it wasn't easy for True Father, but he eventually took the mission and he went out to find his people. So, and let's look at this word. This was True Father's resolution prayer to Heavenly Parent God. He said, "God, are you there? God, do you have wish? God, do you need me? If you do, how much do you need me? How much do you need?" This is 16-year-old child's question. And even when you look at True Father's autobiography, this is here. He said, "God, why did you call me? Even I'm in 90s, I still ask God why He called me. Among all those people, why He called me?" And I always had the heart that if you have something you want to take from me, I believe God, it was love that He wanted to take. That's their love toward God. That's their heart toward God. That's why He chose me. And even for me, I had a lot of darkness. And whenever I had that wall, the dark wall in front of me, I always heard the voice that God never died. God is not dead. And that is embedded with my bone. And I never forgot one single moment when God called me with His sorrowful
어머님을 알게
heart
되는데요.
and sorrowful
이 과정은 또 하나가
stories.
있습니다.
Anyways,
어머님이 섭리적으로 성장하셨던 그 과정 얘기 때 이렇게 어머님을 얘기하십니다.
true father talks about true mother as true mother was growing up, just like true father.
처음부터 완전한 인간으로 출발하는 것이 아니라
Anyway, true father. This is true mother's words. So,
어머님의 삶이 있었고
true father,
그때를 생각하면
in order to
실수할 수 없는
walk
노력을
the
한다고
path of the cross,
그
to
내용들을
be at his position, I also went such path.
저도 미처 몰랐었던 걸로 깜짝 놀랐는데요. 이제는 여러분들도 많이
I was at the
아시죠?
same
많은 강의가
spot,
있었죠.
and so I had to walk
아버님과
my
같이
own
지내지
path.
않고 남의 집에서 눈치
And whenever I think about it, I cannot shed any tears. And whenever I read this true mother's words, I realize that there are hidden stories that we never realized. This is course of true mother. True mother had to live in Kim In Chul blessed families for 3 years with that family. For 4 years, she lived in a different room with true father, and she could not eat with true father on the same table. And she always had to enter the back door of the church. And she could only enter church for once a day. And true father treated true mother very coldly. So she had to go through all this hard course. The life she lived was truly hard. And we also read these words before. True mother gave birth to 14 children. But, when I gave lecture, I never put these words. But until this true mother's word, when you go through C-section, giving natural birth is really difficult. Through C-section, Youngjin was born. For the doctor would often tell me, for the babies, mother should be healthy, but why you're just thinking about yourself, your own body? And the doctor told me that. But in my position, I couldn't say that I want to stop. I asked God, heaven, I pray to God that how many children do you want? As we all know, there are 14 children. As I gave lectures, I never mentioned this in early lectures. I always focus on the great events in Washington Monument and New York Yankee Stadium. But during those course of time, true mother gave birth to children. In the first 7-year course, she gave birth to 6 children. And in America, in the second 7-year course, she was very nervous at the time, but so she had a miscarriage as well. And on the third 7-year course, she gave birth to 6 children as well. And I didn't put this story of True Mother's course, and one of my older members said, "You're man, that's why you cannot understand this." And I found these words. Our life is not reborn through true father. Our life can only be reborn through mother.
언젠가 이렇게 강의를 하니까 사삼가정 선배님이 앉아 계시다가 나는 배신자다.
Anyways,
소리를 막 지르시는 겁니다.
I gave this lecture about true mother, what she went through, and one of the elder members suddenly stood up and said, I'm the traitor. And she repented herself that I didn't truly understood true mother, and I said this and that about true mother. And I've heard a lot of stories. There was a sister who went through C-section to give birth to 3 children, and whenever she went through the C-section, she always had a fear that whether she could meet her children again. And I also, when I read this, I cried a lot. Although I was same woman as true mother, I have body who cannot give birth to children.
안타까운지 모릅니다.
I feel very sad that I cannot feel true mother's heart.
여성이
I cannot reach up to true mother's heart.
남자가 강의하는 시대가 아닌 것 같습니다.
And I realize that looking at this, this true parent life course must be given by
정말 잘
ladies, mothers, and I truly hope that mothers, ladies can come up to give this lecture so they can convey these stories better. Also, through True Father's story, I was able to find these words.
운운하실 수 없으셨답니다. 왜냐하면 어머님에게 선생님이 설명하고
To parents, they cannot discuss about these hardships.
아무 가치가 없다.
If I gave the answer to true mother, I gave all the answer to true mother, then that victory is not worthwhile. True mother had to realize on her own, learn about everything on her own, and make victory on her own. And only when she makes such conditions, she can become true mother. That's why she had to grow herself. And true father, even true father, said in his words that true mother grew on herself. And that's why true mother said she grew on her own and she completed on her own. So based on true mother's words, I see true father's life again. In order to make herself conditioned to complete, she said she went through all the hardship. Even he went to Japan and trained himself. And when I look at true father's words, I found these words. God kicked her father. And God would say, you bastard, you're a true parent. Yeah, I am supposed to save my sons and daughters. And if you do it like this, will they treat you right way? I have to return my children from the enemy and save them. And that's what God would tell true father. And that's why God trained true father as an enemy of the enemy. That's how God trained true father. So, we often thought true father as someone who received revelation from God, and always received support from God, always had, God in their heart. But when you look at the truth, God trained true father in most harsh way than anyone.
왜냐하면 이 기도는 정성의 기도가 아니라 살려고 했었던 기도였기 때문입니다. 갑자기
when true father gave prayer for 18, 17 hours, and usually she would give 12 hours of prayer, and he would eat lunch, and he gave that long hours of prayer because he wanted to live. Those prayers were she had to give those prayers because if he didn't, then he couldn't live. He couldn't find. He had to create a hole of the needle to go through. So he had to walk very lonely path where God was kicking him to stand up, to find the path for himself. And father had to walk the path where God could not communicate. He could not communicate with God. He could not ask mercy for God to give his path, but he had to walk his path to find his own path as true father. Because I have to move beyond that moment to become true father. So that's why true father said that true father could not help true mother on her period of growth. She had to realize herself. So with these words, I realized that I myself had to resolve myself too. So all the power that I received from heavenly true parents, as I studied true parents had to cast away their own flaws and blemishes, had to cast away their own self in order to truly align with Heavenly Parent, they went that life course and that I should also walk that life course. And I would often had question about how they endured, and True Mother gave us these words. Whenever I was having a hard time, whenever I cried, God cried as well. And I had to keep tears to myself because I knew God cried when I cried. This is how True Mother endured. Even True Father, he wanted to run away. He wanted to give up. We heard a lot of stories of True Father saying that. But these are the True Father's words. Whenever I felt that I am such a pitiful guy, whenever I feel that, I feel God is much more pitiful, much more
이렇게 절망스러운 심정 세계가 있었단 말입니까? 하면서 그래 하나님은 이런 심정 세계까지 있었겠구나라고
pitiful, poor, pathetic being. Because of this, because I felt that God is in a lower position than myself, that I had to move on. Both your parents, even though they wanted to give up, they wanted to run away, thinking about God, they had to resolve themselves to move forward. And realizing this, your parents, they moved this problems not because they had the power. It was because they had a feeling toward Heavenly Parent, God. God was such in pain, greater pain than myself, that I had to endure everything.
하나님을 안 죄, 누구보다도 비참한 하나님을 알았기 때문에 갈기각이 찢어지는 한이 있더라도
because
이 길을 가고 있다는 이런 말씀을 하게 됩니다.
My only fault is knowing God. Because I knew sorrowness of God, I couldn't stop myself moving. Even though I had all those resentment, all those sorrow, all those sadness that I had to put away, put it aside, and just move forward because I knew God. So I had no path. I had no path to run away, but only move forward. That's why I have to keep on moving. Because I didn't die, because I'm still living, that's why I'm moving forward. True Father, True Parent, they couldn't stop moving forward because even though it was so hard. Yeah, that's why they're putting their all life. They couldn't let herself let go. And True Mother's words, even I am also human. And that truly moves my heart.
참 부모님이 특히 저에게도 먼저 동현아 괜찮다.
There are a lot of times when I have moment where I want to give up. I have such a hard time, and at those times, God, True Parents, tells me that 동현, it's okay, it's okay. And I always look at myself and telling myself, why do I waver? Why do I hinder my heart? And I always reproach myself. But God, Heavenly Parent, True Parents always told me that it's okay. It's okay. True Parents always told me that I always hindered. I always wavered. My heart always wavered. I wanted to give up. I wanted to run away. It's okay. I had the same heart. Though I receive a lot of message like this from True Mother, True Parents. And as I give lecture, and one of Japanese sister gave this testimony. She was coming to this point, was on the train for 3 hours and coming to this point, and she walked 30-year life to follow True Parents' path. She couldn't recover her husband, and she was there and she was listening to my lecture, and then she told me that as I listened to lecture, she gave Heavenly Parent gave me this message to me: just follow me and don't die. That message truly lingered in my heart. True Parents, just knowing the fact that we didn't die and we're following her, True Parents are truly loving us. That's why all the members gave awards to those who been living in this public life for 30 years recently. With these awards for true parents, it's they're just too grateful for those children for following them and without dying. There was a moment when true mother is celebrating her birthday that as I was following true father and I was moving forward with true father, I never celebrated my birthday, and as I receive celebration from you guys, I am truly grateful. And as I give lecture through this True Parents Life course, I truly feel a lot of heart of Heavenly Parent True Parents. And what I realize every time I give lecture is that True Parents Life course is not finished. I give lecture on all those great events, Washington Monument, New York Yankee Stadium. Our brother and sister, our elder members, you've endured so much. You're such a miracle beings. But all these great events happen, but we are still moving forward. True Parents Life course is still moving forward. We're approaching entrance ceremony. And I'm certain that 100 years later, 200 years later, lecturers like myself will testify that such miracle elder brothers and sisters were there to serve true parents, to accomplish all the victories, to set the foundation for us. And I truly hope that we all create the legendary stories with true parents as we approach entrance ceremony.